me. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 57. We have another finale here. The final story discussed from John Pertwee's last season of the show, and also last time I get a chance to cover anything related to Sarah Jane Smith working with the John Pertwee version of the Doctor in Invasion of the Dinosaurs. And believe it or not, this was the second story under the final season of John Pertwee's run. This, of course, comes at a time where, Sarah Jane's got a haircut. I have heard he cut this in the summertime, created a bunch of continuity issues, I just read. Now, like in the case of Green Death, this was also reviewed by Nash of Dead Air. Yeah, he reviewed this one too, on his show. Yeah, this one's a goofy one. Now we start off with the TARDIS arriving in London, and the first episode is completely in black and white. There's a reason for this. There was a bit of confusion about this one, where apparently this episode was lost, and it was the only episode of a John Pertwee story was lost. And yet all the rest of the stories before and after this one are completely fine. But yet this one, so the only surviving print we have is simply put a one published in black and white. No idea why. Oh, and in case you're curious though, is there a return Doctor Who monsters this one? Nope. Is the TARDIS here? Yep, pops up like 2 or 3 times. Do not see any terror. Yeah. We only see it used once the whole entire story, and that's in the opening episode. It shows up a couple times afterwards in the Doctor's makeshift workshop. So they arrive in a deserted London, which I read. This was actually all the scenes which are shot during the daytime, when the deserted actually was done early in the morning, without the authorizations of the BBC or the British government. I'm like, that is interesting. And it's got some tourists, and you probably think, wow, that's actually really smart idea to do. Yeah, if it is in the US, it'd be kind of impossible to do. Yeah, there was a joke in this episode about, British are closed Sundays. Yep. So, in the case of basically where they get there, and here's the thing. They get around, of course, there's looters. Yes, looters. Why is the place deserted? Well, we kind of see the reason why. Dinosaurs. Yes, dinosaurs. Now, first episode is called The Invasion. It's not called Invasion of the Dinosaurs, the part 2. Now, where do these dinosaurs come from? This is actually not explained to half of the story. And by the way, the only dinosaurs we see the whole story, we see a T-Rex, a Stegosaurus, a Brontosaurus, and we actually, in the final episode, a Triceratops. But the common we see is T-Rex, and that's seen several times. And the T-Rex they use look like this one is falling apart. Yeah, it looks like it's moldy. Oh yeah, they even use pterodactyl. It's like every single dinosaur we see, we know of anyways. So, they apparently try and return the loot. They get arrested for returning the loot. And they have, of course, Doctor explains, I'm the scientific advisor to the unit. Like, the Brigadier? Yeah, they don't buy a story. Well, then the picture is sent to the Brigadier because loot or stuff. And, of course, Brigadier orders a release. They, of course, get transferred, but they get released anyway. Thanks to the Brigadier show up. Also thanks to the dinosaur show up. There's also this general in the story. He doesn't really like Doctor very much. He, of course, frequently tries to have Sarah Jane evacuate because she's a civilian, despite the fact she works with the Doctor. Yes. You would think they would give her a proper pass, but here's the strange thing about this, the whole thing of Sarah Jane working with units. She doesn't get like a proper authorization until Tom Baker's opening story. That is not a joke. She basically works them just because Doc says it's okay. Yeah, so we have dinosaurs pop up in London, and they say there's some human casualties, but they don't specify. So these dinosaurs pop up all over London, so of course the Brigadier really wants to investigate the cause. General's like, nope, I want you to go out and shoot looters. Yeah. Looters are more your priority than dinosaurs. In my opinion, that's frickin' stupid. Is this general an idiot? Yes, he is. And then we see this minister show up, Sir Grey. Yeah, and apparently he started some charities, Save the Earth, wrote a book. And he talks along pretty charmingly. By the way, his first name is Grover. Yeah, Grover Gray. Greg. Well, he of course is very trusting at first, and then like half of the story. Now, in the case of the general himself, it's suspected he might be a bad person, and it turns out he actually is. Mm-hmm. Yep, he actually is. But in the case of the minister, yeah, it's like half of the story of, oh yeah, he's a bad guy. Oh, we do see the scientist responsible for this, a guy who they don't identify until a little bit into the story. His name is Whitaker, and he's played with the same actor who was the director of the Institute shown in Doctor of the Silurians. And he'll pop up one more time after this in the classic Doctor Who story, Genesis of Daleks. Always playing a scientist for some reason. Yes, he's always playing a scientist, and he's basically a supporting villain of the story. Not the main villain, he's always a supporting villain. And by the way, when the Doctor's like, hey, did you die in the caves with the Silurians? Never questions it. There's also other scientists working on him, which they don't identify who the heck this guy is. Well, they show he's basically the minister show forward because he's a bad guy. There's also talking the episode hints that Yates, by the way, this was Yates' first appearance in the show since Green Death, where he basically come off of sick leave because of the brainwashing because of Boss. Here he's back in uniform again in his second to last appearance in the show. Oh, by the way, if you look at Wikipedia and you see pictures of Brigadier where he has like this look and he wears this sweater, it's from this very story. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. So, what is the reason why that these guys wanted to bring these dinosaurs here? Okay, this is not revealed until part 5 of the story of what the villain's plan is. The plan is to create a golden age. They mentioned before about Operation Golden Age. It's not explained in part 5 what the heck this is. Well, because Sarah Jane get involved. She's taken to apparently a spaceship where she's been in space for 3 months. And she points out, though, that's bullcrap because she still got her scar. Well, what happened is that, the doctor wants to basically capture a dinosaur. So he makes this thing here. So Yates, by the way, Yates, the whole story, he's for basically sabotage Dr. efforts. He's not up for killing him. Heck, at one point, Grover agrees with him. Killing a doctor is not a good idea. I mean, the general is open for it. I mean, I get why Mike Yates doesn't want to kill him because Doctor's his friend. He does not want to kill somebody he deeply cares about. Yes. Sure, he'll slow him down, but he will not kill him. And that's Mike Yates' theme of the story, is that he would never kill a doctor because of, the long-standing friendship they've had over the course of this entire run. Yes, my only guess is the reason why they made him a bad guy because this is John Pertwee's last season and Joe Grant's not here anymore, and it was theorized, you watched the show, it seemed like maybe Mike Yates may have had a thing for Joe, but then she left. And if I also read, apparently, Mike Yates, who was actually supposed to die in the story, yes, he was supposed to die, but they allowed him to live anyways, just so he can come back and plan the spiders to die. Yeah. So, when they have the dinosaur get captured, first they sabotage the gun, but Mike Yates didn't want him to die, so basically he jumps in. And by the way, the Brigadier does not question why the heck he did this for. He just randomly decided to do it. And he proceeds to knock out, well, he, of course, knocking out a Brontosaurus, but he got T-Rex instead. And, of course, then, well, you have Sarah Jane give permission from the general to take pictures of the dinosaur. And the thing goes berserk and starts attacking her. Look, the doctor just happens to come by and freeze her from her imprisonment, and she's got the wound, and that wound is with her, and that's a key thing. So then she opens up the airlock this space. She goes, wow, this ship is a fake. It's a fake. If you're curious where I got that from, that's actually in the Pale Moonlight from Deep Space Nine, where they got the Romulans involved. Yes, where the Romulans involved based upon a lie. The Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yep. Yeah, so by the way, the Brigadier, I'm glad the fact he's not written to be this. He's not written to be stupid. Yeah, he's a bit, well, flabbergasted by being locked into a maintenance closet, but he doesn't, let's say, I'm glad the fact he's not written to be that stupid. He does realize, though, that the doctor's being framed. Like, heck, in one point, basically, he even requests the doctor stay in prison there at Unit. So then they, of course, because here's the thing, at the end of episode 5, it's like, oh, here's your monster maker, it's the doctor. No, it isn't. The doctor realizes he's basically shitting bullcrap, and he talks to Brigadier like, yeah, the only reason why you basically caught me doing that because the general wanted that way. Because he's working with basically Grover and the two scientists. Mike is just basically supporting them. Yeah, and of course Sarah talks to the minister, and of course she of course apparently and of course she's on the spaceship with a lady, a writer, and an athlete. The athlete she's able to convince no problem, but the other two, nope, no. The writer is able to convince to change sides due to the fact he overhears Grover's conversation about cheating them, and in fact lying to them the whole time about this golden age stuff. Yeah, and then of course Mike Yates, when he reveals he's part of the deception, basically as well, the whole track called Geo for reinforcements, and then of course basically you have Benton take him out, and then Benton is held gunpoint by the general, and who he proceeds to punch in the nose. Yes, and I'll get to back then. So, by the way, this story is the debut of a vehicle that appeared one other time after this in the last story John Pertwee's one. The Who-mobile. Yes, the Who-mobile. He drives around, and from what I read about this damn thing, this was John Pertwee's personal car, and the reason why this thing exists, his love of gadgets. That's the reason why he owns this damn thing. He kept it throughout the rest of his life. What happens to the car is complete. I didn't get a chance to read about that, but I thought that was quite cool, the fact he made this damn thing. He drove it for one episode of this whole thing. Yeah, I'm like, okay, so here's a question. And I have this question, oh story. Where is his car, Bessie? Good question. It did pop up in Green Death. Yes, it did. I think it did pop up in Time Warrior, but let's see. Yeah, it popped up in Time Warriors, and its last appearance, because it appeared like 3 times in the 7th season of Doctor Who. 8 seasons appeared 1, 2, basically like 3 out of like 4 or 5 stories. Appeared 1 story of 9th season. Season 10 appeared in 2 stories. This season appeared in 1. Basically Planet Spiders. Yeah. It's sad that Bessie didn't appear a lot in the show. the third Doctor's personal car. Yeah. So, yeah, and then of course they activate the device a few times. Oh, by the way, the Doctor is completely unaffected by the effects of this device against the Time Lord. Yeah, that's not explained in the story. It's like, oh yeah, you're not affected because you're basically a Time Lord. Yep. But this story, I think it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the only thing that's basically this whole story is the dinosaur effects. But still an interesting story, though I think the villains are very one-dimensional per se. Though it does have a little bit of familiarity of like, oh, we have a general who's working against, they have this random general who pops up for this one story. Never seen again. I'm like, does this sound very familiar? Sounds like Terror of the Autons. Or any other story features basically this general for an episode and then does appear ever again. Oh, and the whole thing of basically Benson bragging about, oh yeah, who knew basically Sartre able to punch a general's nose to get away with it. And of course, he's like walking away, and of course, Brigadier is like this, looking like, you better not punch me. It's like, better not happen again. Fine. Yeah. This story I found to be quite interesting, and this is, like I said, the last story discussed for John Pertwee's final season on Doctor Who, because this is the end of, well, not the end of the John Pertwee's era. Oh no, I still got several stories for that one. We started here with a Time Warrior. Of course, this one, obviously. And then we had Death to the Daleks, which was the last time Doctor fought, the John Pertwee fought Daleks. Of course, they popped up in the next season. They appeared a more times after that. Monster Power is sequel to a previous story featuring Joe Grant. And, of course, Planet of Spiders. Yes, and of course, Green Death did set up this story. It said this one here, which was also Mike Yates' final appearance on Doctor Who. Yep. Yeah, sadly put, it was his final appearance. It's almost like the season was unintentional, like the start of basically something, and then of course end of several things. Like in the case of, well, Mont Pellin, for example, that was the final appearance of classic Doctor Who of the Ice Warriors. Death to Daleks, the third and last time John Pertwee fought the Daleks. They probably figured, oh, okay, it's the last season, so let's have Sarah fight the Daleks. Not once, but twice to her run, because she also fought them again in the next season, too. Yep. Yeah. In case you're curious, though, how do I feel about John Pertwee working with Sarah Jane, Elizabeth Slade? I think they have very good chemistry in the show. No romantic chemistry per se, but this was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this season per se. Yes. And so, yeah, basically this is the end of the 11th season. I've already reviewed season 12, which started Robot concluded with Revenge of the Cybermen. Though the story concluded with Terror of the Zygons. Okay, with this particular one in particular, since I finished doing this one, how many more stories have to go for John Pertwee's run? There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There is exactly 6, 7. There is exactly 8 more stories left to go for this run. Yep, 8 more. And that sadly is it. Yes. It's basically, if you think about it, the 8 stories, 1 features Liz Shaw, and all the rest feature Joe Grant. By the way, in the previous season, 1 story left. The only season I still got a lot left to go for is, season 8. 9 has got 2 stories, 10's got 1, and so is season 7. I will eventually cover those in the future. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here and move on to something else. Okay, so next episode is basically a series of 3 comic corners. But I'm gonna basically take a break at the next one after I do the first comic. Okay, next video. Bye.